welcome to Reaction Shots for August. I am joined, of course, by Michael Huber.
August is my birthday.
The whole month.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's my month. Does that too. Just takes the month.
August is my birthday.
Yeah.
Taken.
And Brandon Jones.
Yeah.
First time on the show.
I'm so happy. I completed the whole set of the Easy A podcast line.
Nice.
Yeah.
You've
I'm all
been
caught
on
up. I was
long.
on Friend Code recently, and
So
I'm
was
on
I
Reaction
think.
Shots.
Was I? I don't. Who can tell anymore? Anyways, we start off the show. This episode is about film noir, but we start off the show with what have you liked lately? Jones, do you have one, or should we start with Hubert?
I got one.
Okay, let's
Locked
start
and
with
loaded.
you.
We've talked about it, so I'm going to repeat myself a little bit. This is more for the people watching than for y'all, but I finally saw John Wick 2. I didn't see either John Wick films in the theaters. I saw them all both on demand.
John Wick Chapter 2.
Chapter 2, you're right.
Jones.
Correct. And very much enjoyed it. Enjoyed it more than the original John Wick. And I think it's pretty harsh what happens to John Wick in the first film.
Yeah.
But to me, it was like if somebody had taken out Sophie, like I probably wouldn't be surprised if I found myself really good at using automatic weapons. Like I would just like that would bring out a lot in me, you know, to do harm to lots of people that were responsible for it. But the 2, I think, gets much more into like the honor structure of how this world works, and what laws people can accept and what they can't. Certainly the climax kind of builds up to that moment. I just thought this was so fascinating, just getting into this world and seeing how it worked and seeing how, you know, different people who trusts who and why. And I just thought that was more fascinating than the first film, which just was kind of like, he's just mad.
And I would say better characters, too.
And more characters, yeah.
And more characters, absolutely.
I don't know if we get into specifics on this show, but the best sequence was the when like 8 people get the call to hit on him. And he can't even get like 5 blocks without like 40 people jumping at him.
Kill like 6 people, yeah.
But that's, you know, because I think a lot of times you see like Untouchables comes to mind, where, you know, everybody keeps telling Kevin Costner, like, slow down, you don't want to go against these people because you'll put a mark on you and you can't survive that, your family can't survive that.
Yeah.
And I like that just ratchets that up to the, like, you can't even get to the subway. It's not like sometime in the next 2 weeks when you least expect it.
Yeah, it's like,
you know, like
right now.
Somebody will put a car bomb, you know, underneath your car. It's just like, yeah, you're some giant like sumo wrestler's gonna come at you on the sidewalk. But I also get the sense, you know, like I like the Keanu Reeves not like a beefcake. He's not like a really big guy. There's not a lot of crazy kung fu going on. He does kind of have sometimes like he'll like, you know, point the gun at a doorway that no one's run out of yet, and it's like, how did you know that some guy was gonna come flying out of there? But I definitely get it.
He doesn't know. He's just making sure.
But that I get a sense that it's he's just kind of like it's like a sushi chef, you know, just like chop. You know, he's just like, this is what I do, is my job, and so it's not. I don't get emotional when I go through these things.
What do they call him? The boogeyman, the Baba Yaga or whatever.
Baba Yaga, yeah. That's why I love just the few moments you see him lose it in the movies, when like the guy finally leaves him alone, like with his new gun and his suit and stuff, and he just screams, and it's like, all right, I got that out of my system, back to work. Love the scene with the sommelier.
Oh my god!
It's like, you know. And for dessert, like the shotgun.
When he said for dessert,
the
shotgun, dude.
This is the worst too, because like because you know, you really try to have people, speaking of film, you know, to really get absorbed in something and try to like, you know, cancel out the outside world. And it's just like anybody pulls out a shotgun in any movie now. And I'm like, I think Huber's in that.
Yeah, Huber.
Dude, that shotgun scene though, in the tunnel. So good.
Is the shotgun the one that he hides up on the thing for later? Yeah.
Oh my god, he goes back to it and just starts wrecking.
Well, that's what I like about John Wick, is like the world building obviously is insane, but John Wick as a character, like I always read it that he doesn't know he's gonna go back and needs the shotgun, but he knows he's gonna take that path, and if things are gonna go down, then he might need it, so he puts it there. You know, so it's like planning ahead. It's great.
Well, and Keanu is just a lovable human.
Keanu is just the greatest person who ever lived.
Exactly.
Yeah. Truly a wonderful person. Huber, what have you liked recently?
I really like this show called Turn Washington Spies. They actually renamed it like for season 2. They were really trying to get like, hey, George Washington's in the show, like maybe you should watch. You know, the ratings have never been great. Like the head, it's on AMC. The head of AMC even said like, it's one of my favorite shows, so, you know, I'm using my power to keep it alive. Like, it's one of those situations. But we're on the final season, you know, and anytime a show is on the final season, it's I put it above a lot of other shows on my investment. It's like, final season, serious business, you know. Only 4 seasons for the show, so it's in and out, but
in and out in a cool 40 hours.
Cool 40 hours for TV though, you know, like your final season is 4. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Just a great ensemble cast of characters in this show. I always love historical things, like seeing the Revolutionary War and kind of a different side of it too, like the spy ring, because a lot of it is based on fact, obviously. It's historical fiction, I'd say. Maybe they embellish a couple things, but it is very on point with historical battles, characters, locations. The primary focus is Benedict Arnold, who we all know is a traitor. That's like the main, like him and Washington against each other. Mm-hmm. But then there's also, because Washington isn't the main character. It's Culper. It's like his nickname is Culper. Abraham Woodhull is like this spy. Okay. That, and just his journey has been...
Was he real or was
he...
Okay.
Yeah, supposedly, I haven't done too much information. I'm waiting for like the show to end before I do the deep dive.
Oh, sure,
into...
yeah, you want spoilers.
Yeah.
Historical spoilers.
But just, again, I can't stress enough, just a lot of really good characters. Like, so many characters that I love, so... Just a cool show. If you're interested in American history and Revolutionary War, I recommend it.
Is it kind of like the Americans, just Revolutionary War era?
I would say a lot less slow and intense than the Americans. Americans is very focused on a conversation, turn moves, but there's a lot of spy stuff, which I really like. So it's pretty quick paced.
Does it take a lot of turns?
There are a lot of turns.
Oh.
Yeah. So
the bird.
I'm super pumped because the series finale is this Saturday.
Whoa.
Final episode. Wow. So I'm getting a little emotional. Anytime one of my favorite shows ends, you know.
So I have time to catch up. Is what you're saying.
Yeah. 39
I don't
hours.
sleep much this week.
Hop aboard.
Yeah.
So.
I'm just all about Game of Thrones. I mean, no specifics, but man, this season is good.
Yeah.
Since they unshackled themselves from those tedious books.
It's almost like Dad fell asleep and the kids hit the gas.
Yeah.
Dad wakes up and they're on the freeway what? I mean, you can feel that moment.
Oh yeah.
It's almost like you're surfing. It's right at the crest of the wave. We're here we go.
Yeah.
You had to
and the books are done.
You had to know too. 10 episodes or whatever, or 7 and 6 for the final 2 seasons. People are always talking about spoilers, don't say anything. It's you have to be prepared that every single episode in the last 2 seasons, some shit is gonna go down.
If there's there pretty much statistically cannot be an episode where nothing happens ever again of this show.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
There's 9 left now.
Yeah, something.
They seem to speaking a lot about why nothing is happening too. Kind of that there are threats and there are expectations you have for characters, and I think they did a good job this season of being I know you think I'm going to do that, but I'm not, and here's why. And you're oh yeah, that would be a bad idea.
Or I am.
I've kind of been waiting for you to do it, and then that doesn't make sense.
I get why they're called White Walkers now, because they just
take forever to
walk.
Get there.
They just walk and take their time walking.
They're walkers.
I'm cool waiting though.
Yeah.
It doesn't bug me that they haven't been around that much. Because obviously, the few times they've come have been unbelievable.
Crazy, yeah.
But I wish it's on me, I guess, expecting that they would have come a little sooner. When I should have realized it is final season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't wait around for them. They're a final season.
Yeah.
Whereas season 5, season 6, I'm dude, let's go. White Walkers, are they coming? Are they coming?
Right.
It's no, it's
that's
final
endgame
season.
Stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, if I turn out to be right, I'm sorry, but I think it'd be funny if everyone ends up just killing themselves and the White Walkers show up and they're kind of just well, where'd everybody go? We want to kill some people. You guys. They took the ball and went home.
It's really hot in Essos. We can't go over there.
We can't handle this.
That was a cool shot though, right? They bring kind of the storm with them.
Yeah,
the first episode of the
very
season,
slowly.
Right? Yeah.
I'm also really into Rick and Morty. That show is great. And it's kind of heavy this season. It's kind of nuts.
Oh.
Yeah.
Don't spoil it for me.
I won't spoil
I'm
it,
catching
man.
up.
Oh, you're watching Rick
I've
and
watched
Morty?
the first 2 episodes.
Whoa!
Yeah.
I am anxious to hear
Yeah.
what you think of
I
Rick and Morty.
love the first 2 episodes. I'm like, this is
show.
amazing.
There are pretty much only like one. There's like one like kind of not great episode, but it still has even some funny parts
Cool.
in there.
I finally saw an episode.
Oh, yeah?
recently. Yeah.
Which one did you see?
I mean, I was like familiar. I'm familiar with the humor. I know those writers
Right.
and stuff. I'm like, I could point their voices out.
Yeah.
But like, I never actually sat through, and it was the one where time splits, where the screen actually goes 50-50.
That's
and
like
then
the season
quadrants,
finale of 2, I think.
and that was
Or
that
maybe
was
it's
fun.
the first episode of season 2. Whatever. That's a good one.
But very fast-paced humor. Very.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
doesn't drag, which a
What
lot
I-
of TV comedies can. A lot of animated stuff can just kind of like, all right, I get the
Yeah,
joke.
yeah. What I really love about that show is that it is a show where pretty much anything can happen, but it's still grounded in itself because like it's just like uber science. And what I love is that, I mean, you haven't gotten to this stuff yet, but like permanence, like things will happen that seem too crazy to come back from, and they
Yeah.
stick with it. Like
That's awesome.
it's really awesome. It's cool. Anyways, let's talk about film noir.
Yes.
So starting off with a few examples: Chinatown, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Double Indemnity, Touch of Evil, Sunset Boulevard, Nice Guys, Out of the Past, Brick, LA Confidential, Blade Runner. Some other examples that I left off of the list for the patrons, but Fargo. There's I think Norwegian movie called Headhunters that's really, really good.
I've seen that movie.
It's got
on a train,
Jamie
right?
from what?
It's like a train.
No. It's like
I know I've seen it. There's
Headhunters-
another movie like it.
okay, Headhunters, he's a guy, the main guy is like a corporate headhunter who's
Yes.
buying a lot of art, and then Jamie Lannister
Yes.
from Game of
Yep.
Thrones shows up and is like chasing him around. It's amazing. It's got some very intense scenes. Tell No One was a French movie. I
I've seen
like
that one too.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yes.
Anyway, there are a lot of noir movies, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
movies that are inspired by noir. Real quick, I want to get this out of the way. I took a class back in college that was like dealt heavily with whether or not film noir was a genre or just a descriptor assigned by the French to something that was happening at the time predominantly in American cinema. And if I recall correctly, it was kind of based on these little pulp novels that had black covers that the French had. And so like these French critics were looking at something happening in American cinema, and then they started calling it film noir, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
It was like a term applied to a phenomenon that was happening on its own that like wasn't necessarily a genre. But I mean, it's a genre now. Like, come on.
course.
Like you could walk into a store and they're, back in the Blockbuster day, like they could have a film noir section.
And
you wouldn't-
Blockbuster is law. I mean,
Right,
if you
yeah.
see it
Yes.
Yeah, you wouldn't bat
in
an
there, you can
eye.
picture it in blue and yellow. It's a genre.
Yep.
And I think like a few other things that were happening. I mean, obviously these aren't the only influences into this stuff, but some German expressionism, like Cabinet of Dr. Caligari or whatever. That kind of high contrast, and I can never say this word, chiaroscuro.
Whoa.
It's like hard.
Whoa.
It's like that puppet kind of like high contrast black and white lighting stuff. High contrast lighting, heavily influenced by that kind of stuff too, going on. And I think a few people brought this up, so we'll see some examples of this too. But one of the main threads that I think most of today's discussion will hinge on is the unreliable narrator, or like the not always unreliable narrator, but like film noir, especially later film noir, you are seeing through this person's lens, like their perspective. In Chinatown, I mean, they famously went very intense with it, where the camera is placed over Jake's shoulder, so that you're seeing things, you're reacting almost right after he does to a lot of things. So you're definitely seeing the entire movie through his perspective, or like you're peeking over his shoulder, literally.
Oh my god, I think of Dark Passage, Humphrey Bogart. There's like a lot of first person shots, and he escapes and gets plastic surgery. So like some of the movie he has like this band, he's like covered in bandages, and then like, he's taking it off and he's like looking in the mirror. There's like the first person shot and it's like Bogart. He's like, all right, nice. Like, just awesome.
That's super cool.
Would you say Sunset Boulevard's noir?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
Because I definitely get that vibe of like the you don't know really what happened to him, and not good things happened to him.
Yeah.
But he's still you're kind of like, when did you get a chance to tell this story? Right. Like these are the way events have unfolded.
Yeah.
But yeah, and definitely an unreliable narrator.
And I mean, I personally love that kind of stuff. So you've never been on the show before. Occasionally, I will bring in thoughts from patrons.
Excellent.
And usually, I trim them down a little bit, but a lot of times, like they're well phrased. So
some of the best thoughts I've found.
Oh yeah. And
Before
not ours.
Before you do the first one, I just want to bring up something I love really quick about Film Noir is it feels more high stakes. Like Film Noir movies to me feel more high stakes because they're so grounded.
Yeah.
And because they're dealing with such intense themes. Like it's usually murder or like a thief or a robbery. Like somebody always ends up dead. And because it's so grounded and like focused on realism, I guess, or like that heightened sense of realism, it just feels like it has more impact than like an action movie, someone gunning people down, because it's like because it's always like, whoa, like someone is dead now. Like it makes it high stakes.
Well, an action movie, they kind of they'll like dangle Bruce Willis off a ledge and like, oh no, and you're like, don't kill Bruce Willis. And it's like you kind of know going into it, like, you're probably gonna make it out. And what I love about Noir is like, all of you are dead. This is
everyone is vulnerable.
It doesn't even have to be death. It's like things are not going to end well.
Right.
Like even if you make it out of it, like you're not going to have anyone around you, or you might end up in prison. Yeah. The worst fiasco nuts ending.
Oh yeah. Or the best fiasco nuts ending.
Depending on who you ask.
Well, and that's something that I love about film noir, specifically as a style of film. And a Retro PS4 patron talked about this too, like high contrast lighting, hard shadows, foreboding score, use of voiceover, low camera angles, all these staples of noir, and like it's one of those things where the form meets the function for me. Like these hard shadows and stuff cast everything in mysterious light, like literally. You can't see someone lurking in these shadows. And it's a stylized, based on reality, but stylized kind of in more of the way that the eye does see sometimes, where it's like, hey, I can't see over there, and that makes me concerned.
Yeah.
And I love that kind of stuff where artistic choice really backs up, the story.
Because you think of like the golden age of noir as like the 40s, right? But when you think of the 40s in America or like 50s, right? It's like happy, bright, like obviously post World War II. But but then you go back and you watch these movies and you're like, these are so intense.
Oh yeah.
It's just this like, again, I bring it up because I watch movies now, and maybe because it's like I'm desensitized, or they have like a gloss to them and there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
But just sometimes going back to these old noirs, I'm like, this is really heavy stuff. Like it still shocks me when I turn on Turner Classic or something. and I'm like, whoa.
Well, and I think
people coming up with fiber wire, like choking out. I'm like, this is like not graphic, but it's violent,
That later on we'll hear a quote from Liz Castro, patron, but she brings up the code, like I think referring to the Hays Code and stuff like that, where it was a Hollywood set of rules that dealt with, beds can't be too close together, like people can't have their feet off the bed, like all these weird kind of like really conservative ideals that Hollywood had to deal with. And so movies, noir movies, I think were a reaction against that kind of stuff, where they were pushing it in a way but still adhering to these codes, and like it has this weird effect, like a good horror movie where you don't see the monster and your mind fills it in even worse because it's your own personal horror.
Yeah.
I think an idea that I had for another episode is Sex Without Sex, which is dealing with this kind of stuff where like, hey, how come these two talking about like total innuendo but like never talking about actual sex is like kind of the hottest thing I've ever seen because they can't do it. The rules won't let them do it. And like a lot of these movies, have that kind of quality where it's like, you're like, nothing is being shown, but this is the most unsettling, messed up stuff I have ever seen in my entire life. And then in the 60s and 70s, when the shackles are kind of like loosened or come off and things just go like haywire, you get
De Palma.
You get De Palma or Sam Peckinpah stuff where like things are just gnarly.
Graphic.
Like one of my favorite Peckinpah movies, Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, which is sort of like a Western noir kind of crossover. You do have the drunken detective type archetype happening. So I think it would kind of classify as like maybe a bright noir sort of a deal, like a daytime noir. But yeah, just things happen in that are just like, wow. And that kind of dialogue, yeah, and like the way that the female characters in that movie are handled too. Are really, you watch that movie, it's pretty intense. It's very intense. Heads up, it's a Peckinpah movie. Like that guy had a complex relationship with women. Did not trust women, I think. But anyways,
I also like cigarettes. How they, especially like, you know, back in the day, like how they, you know, you're talking about like darkness and you know, the absence of light, and obviously dealing with shady characters, but like I like, you know, obviously smoke is obscuring, but like I also like that you have a lot of characters that are doing things they know are bad for them, but they don't care. They're doing things that they know they're going to ultimately end in ruin, but they don't care.
Yeah.
And there's definitely more characters like, you know, smoking is just what you did back in the day. You know, it's like, it's funny just like sitting down in a restaurant or something, or just like talking to your doctor and you're both smoking.
Both smoking, just like
and whiskey.
your lungs are all
whiskey,
messed up.
cigarettes.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, Eddie Valiant in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, for the entire first, I don't know, 75% of that movie, he's got booze. He's drinking booze. And like
in a kids movie.
Right, and he reaches for it like it's, you know, very direct psychological ties, you know, like he mentions his brother, reaches for the flask, you know, reaches for the bottle. It's not even a flask, it's just a straight up bottle of whiskey, you know.
Oh yeah, when he's telling Roger the story in the theater,
just reaches for his booze, you know. It's just like, well, that's 1-to-1, you know, like
coping mechanism.
Yeah, coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And I mean that's something that we're going to talk about too. These characters just with the shady past and stuff, I think is a through line in a
redemption, like really flawed characters looking, you know,
which is
like some usually I love just the hard-boiled detective, you know, someone coming to the detective's down on their luck, like one final job, or you know, they get in over their head. It's just funny that there's so many tropes, and they also have their own identity.
What Andrew Bailey phrased it in a really good way. A patron said, "A weak man who doesn't have the guts or the ability to take control over his own life." And Andrew tied that into a later question that we're going to deal with film noir's relationship to women too. But like, that is a common trope in these movies where the main character is a broken human being, and it's like it's very interesting to me. It's a very palpable kind of metaphor too. Is that it's often a detective or someone who's placed into the role of detection, of figuring out a mystery of some kind, who is themselves this just broken pile of puzzle pieces, you know? And it's like through piecing this mystery together, sometimes they piece themselves back together, like in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and oftentimes they don't, like maybe in Chinatown, you know, where it's just like, you're just broken, man. Like, that's just not happening.
Well, you're describing my favorite character of all time in any medium, which is Batman. Several people. You guys, I'm happy that you guys are both on the table here. Several people, Morgan Mohala, Retro PS4, Liz Castro, a bunch of people brought up Batman the Animated Series.
Hell yeah.
Do you guys want to talk? Let's just jump
Well,
into that.
well, Batman's interesting because the major difference between Batman and every other story we're going to talk about at this table is like permanence. Is that like this goes on for decades? You know, it's not just kind of this like flash in the pan. That's actually kind of one of the things that I appreciate. It got me real steamed at the time, but like, you know, looking back at the Nolan trilogy, that is kind of unique in the world of Batman. That like Nolan kind of presents it like this is not really like a way Gotham was. It's more like a thing that happened. You know, like Batman was just a thing that happened. Like he was not patrolling a lot. You know, like he did have maybe like a year or two that like that was his golden age. You know, where like we kind of see the end of that at the beginning of Dark Knight, where he takes out Scarecrow again. But to me, that's not like the Batman I grew up with, so I was very like not into that at the time. But like,
I love that.
It was like a more kind of like hardcore like.
Because you think about the like real life situation. Obviously, Nolan loves like making it super realistic. Like no human could be able to sustain what Batman does. You know, so it's like he does that for a year or two. Like his body's messed up, like psychologically, physically. That's why I love in Dark Knight Rises. Like again, people give it shit that he's all like bummed leg, like old, like dude. No one could keep up what he did for a couple years.
But if you get some new pants and you do some pull-ups in a pit in the ground, your cartilage will regrow in your
set.
knees.
You're set. Yeah.
Things that are impossible will happen.
Yeah, when you're pushed to the brink, you can do anything.
Cartilage can't come back. Though.
But it also forces him to die or leave. You know, he can't maintain it, and so it has that kind of abandoned like noir ending where it's like somebody's got to die or we got to break up and we got to separate ourselves from each other. So yeah, it was interesting how that trilogy wrapped up.
Yeah, I think Batman is a staple of film noir, and I mean,
Catwoman, femme fatale.
Femme fatale, and I mean, and the Tim Burton Batmans like take film noir and then just like Dick Tracy it up to 1,000.
Yeah, it was a little more gothic too.
Yeah,
I thought that was almost like a borderline fantasy.
Oh,
when Burton did it.
It's a goth
but yeah,
fantasy,
I mean, just the
sure.
way the animated series is drawn, the way like all the crime boss types talk. That's one of my favorite things about the series. I forgot actually just going back and watching it again was that like how much just crime has to do with it.
Oh, hell
there's lots of characters and lots of people effing stuff up in Gotham City that like don't wear makeup, don't have costumes.
Just mafia. Just straight up mafia.
Just old money, old Gotham money.
Just well, and Gotham is like, you know, it's like Sin City levels of just like, hey, this is a noir crime town. Like that's just what it is, based on old Chicago. You know, like straight up. Roger Rabbit was the assignment film coming into this month because it dealt with practical effects, and it is one of the great film noir.
Like you said, when he gets shot in the back with the squibs.
Yeah.
Crazy.
A little bit of blood.
Shows the kill, Jones.
Oh, yeah.
2 shots in the back.
Arcade Maroon.
Does not cut away.
Yeah. This movie is intense, and it definitely borrows...
The guy like with the noose, or like his tie hanging from
Yeah,
the
yeah,
machine.
him.
That's right after he gets shot, yeah. It borrows from... This film borrows from a lot of the greats. I mean, like, the lighting, the feel, you know... Just
the classic Hitchcock, like, when they're killing Maroon, the gun behind the curtain just coming out.
Absolutely. Morgan Mahala said that it's great because every part of it is so well crafted, but the duel between Daffy Duck and Donald Duck is worth the price of admission alone. I was like, yeah, that's a pretty funny thing.
But the legit scary film. I mean, one of those disturbing things that even when I go back and enjoy it and smile, like there's that little 8-year-old in the back of my brain that's like
freaked out.
I don't like Christopher Lloyd in this movie.
Dude.
I don't like parts of Toontown. Like even that crazy gal
lady?
chasing him is kind of scary,
kinda
you
gross,
know.
like-
Just because, and I don't think it's necessarily that like you know that's type of a situation would scare me, but like there's something creepy about Toons, and this might have nothing to do with noir, but like that disproportionate like distance they can run places and how far they can reach, and like you know that he shoots these bullets but they're not that fast, you know.
Right.
You never really kind of know,
And
like
they,
even when
like-
the car's driving it kind of the speed changes here and there, and so you never know what to expect with Toons, and just that kind of that wobbliness is
Well, and, like, the
unsettling.
one-
the sword even when he pulls it out, like
Yeah.
there's just a lot of
The one rule that
eeriness to that movie.
Roger states is that like Eddie Valiant's like, wait, you mean to tell me you could have taken your hand out of this cuff at any time? And he goes, no, not any time, only when it was funny. And it's like all the tunes operate with that, you know, mode. It's like even the bullets, like probably intentionally choose the wrong direction because they're always performing for an audience that might not even be watching.
Well, and you talk about broken human beings, and like they're all kind of messed up in the head a little bit. Like they're not really well adjusted. Can't call them humans, but like there's a reason that tunnel's there, you know. So it's like you guys stay on your side because you all seem to make it sense, you know, make sense of your existence over there, and like we'll handle being humans over here.
Oh man.
Yeah, I wonder if there was any. I mean, maybe more in the novel, but like I wonder if there was any kind of exploration into mental illness or any kind of just in the way that he deals with Roger. You know, it's like I wonder if there's any parallels of noir films where you have that character like who might have seen, you know, a murder or something like that, or like a small child or something that like is trying to sort it out in their head. So you have this cop protecting them, you know, like I need this kid, but I'm putting him in danger by bringing him into everything at the same time. And Dip and like
Dick Tracy
melts
Dip.
the shoe like
Dick Tracy. I mean, what I like about
messed up over seeing a shoe die. What kind of movie is this?
Well, and that's the thing in Roger Rabbit. The characters, the tunes, Roger and Jessica and stuff. They're like one ideal boiled down to. It's like extreme. Like Roger wants to make people happy, wants to make people laugh, and he's just a sweetheart and like through and through, you know. And Jessica, you know, they love each other, and like she does a couple of weird things to try to protect Roger, you know. And it's it's just very interesting because then you take Judge Doom, and he's that kind of ideal, but the opposite. You know, I said to Huber in our commentary, it's like, who drew this guy? Like, who made? Like, why did we? Who required this?
That
villain,
blew my mind.
You know?
Seriously, who drew him?
Who drew this
Where did
guy?
he come from?
Right, because it's like, who made this just messed up psycho dude with no positive qualities? He's not trying to make people laugh. He's trying to make a buck, and doesn't care who he has to dip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even his entire species.
Right.
Wiping out Toontown.
Yeah.
Well, it could have been that, you know, you think of like the wind and is it the wind and willows that the Mr. Toad's Wild Ride is from, like the you know like the judge in that, you know, it's like there definitely are like creepy cartoon characters, villains,
just bad.
So yeah, somebody
Usually
made
judges.
him a villain, and he was just around for so long that he started
I could think of a few
working both sides.
creepy judges in cartoons.
Yeah.
They're with those wigs. I mean, we just have to quickly mention the effects in Roger Rabbit. The combination of practical effects and the believability of the characters and just the way that they interact with the world. It's insane. And just so well done. It
When he
ages
goes through
perfectly.
the glass,
yeah,
that transition,
Yeah.
when he's
Leaves
drinking the
his
booze
frame.
and
yeah.
he goes through like the blind and the glass. It just looks so
There are still some
perfect.
things in there I don't. It's
I
like
don't know how they did it.
I understand how it was set up. I don't understand how you made it look that good.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
by all intents, yeah, just like some metal rod, like you know, it's
Right.
like that shouldn't have. Like when he like throws water back, like I don't see it go out the back of his head, and I
Right.
know there was nothing there.
Right.
So it's like, what's catching the water? Like
Right.
crazy. Like
And or like like I was watching when they're wearing the handcuffs, the one on Roger, you know, it's real. It's flipping all over the place,
Yeah.
like moving around, and I'm like, wow. I mean, like, yeah, they probably just had some kind of stick that they
Yeah.
were moving around, but it's like, man, they animated over that. Like, it's just, oh god, it's so well done.
and it's tough too because I think like there are even, you know, like bless Yoda in Empire Strikes Back, but there are even some moments where he's just kind of like Luke, and you're like,
Yeah.
ooh, Yoda, he's over, close,
Yoda.
close, you know, or you can just tell, or like there's one infamous shot where he gets up and walks away, and you can see the floorboard like Frank Oz is like underneath
yeah,
him, like the ground. So like it's hard for me, you know, being like a stickler for special effects, like a movie like that where you're just you're constantly seeing
Right.
the human being like, this is hard, like you can see the look in their eye where they're like, I rehearsed this a lot.
Right.
And even with those challenges, it's such a charming film, you know. And you just and
And,
Bob
like-
Hoskins just kills it. Like,
Oh, he's amazing.
It's so tough, you know. It's like even like that's what killed the prequels for me. Is they're like standing on a green screen stage and they're just like, we got to make this up, and they just couldn't do it. They weren't like inspired enough.
Right.
And you can see Hoskins is like, I'm willing to not only do the work to make it look believable, but to really like get frustrated at him, to really bring a lot of character. Like you really felt for him, and like
he's an
his
amazing
loss, and
performer,
like
yeah.
you know, like how like they don't really dwell too much on the relationship between him and Doris. What's her name?
Dolores.
just enough.
But it's
Just
like
enough.
refreshing to have them kind of be like a little older than like noir leads would, you know, potentially be
Yeah.
as far as like a love interest story, you
Yeah.
know. But it's not done that much. But
And they
still,
never actually get to kiss.
yeah.
Like they almost kiss like 3 times, and then Roger always
all the
gets another.
photos of him and his brother and them,
Oh.
like, yeah.
It's just so well done. But also, it's such a tragic arc, and you feel his redemption so well. Like, this is a movie where the hero is redeemed.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, showing those pictures of how he used to be a goofball and how they used to work for Toons, and then this tragedy just hard, like, cut it off. He started drinking, you know? And then I was saying to him, like, to Huber in the commentary, like, he then uses a Toon to blow up a whiskey bottle.
Yeah.
So it's like full circle, you know? He like it's oh god, it's such a perfectly
And just like saving the tunes at the end too.
Yeah.
You know.
used to work for Toons to saying I don't work for Toons, and then he saves
And then
the Toons.
full circle in that regard. And then obviously kissing Roger is
At the end.
the best moment.
Oh.
Just feel good moment.
Well, and like throughout the film, even when he's a grouch, he shows, or sourpuss as Roger says, he does show that he does have a true understanding of how Toons think and how Toons work. And I think that's really, it's really cool. Like, oh, it just works on so many levels.
Yeah.
Which brings us into our next kind of thing. Eddie Valiant is a somewhat tragic figure. Is that a prerequisite of noir detectives? Like, that do they have to be haunted by the past? Like, I can't think of many
No.
examples where they're just like a happy dude.
I think of like Touch of Evil. I think of Chuck Heston in that movie. I don't really think he has a haunted past. I mean, the bomb goes off in the car.
Yeah.
But you know, he's just trying to.
Great
He's
opening
there.
sequence, by the way.
Yeah, oh god, and he's there just trying to like crack the case. You know, I haven't seen it in a while. I don't
It's been
remember.
a while for me too,
I
yeah.
don't remember if Chuck Essen
Yeah.
has any baggage, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't. So
You know, I haven't seen him forever. Is L.A. Confidential?
Yeah.
And Guy Pearce is pretty vanilla. Like he doesn't really have a history or.
He's trying to live up, I think, to his father's legacy.
But not that severe.
He's
you
like
know?
a
He didn't
goody two
lose
shoes
much.
that
Yeah.
realizes he has to. Yeah, his only tragedy is like being a square, and
Yeah.
then everyone's like, "Come on, loosen up, man!" And then he has to like bend the rules to succeed. You know, man, that's a good movie too.
I always imagine like it helps if they're an underdog.
Right.
It helps if like for some reason you expect them to because you're given you see them in a light that other characters in the world don't.
Right.
But like you have certain people of power, whether they just committed just like robbery or murdered someone and stumble across this person, like in the case of Roger Rabbit, where they like. Yeah, Valiant will just be a part of this, but like he's not gonna be the one to bring all of us down. Like
Right.
certainly not this guy.
Yeah.
And so like that kind of setup then just increases the mystery and increases the tension when they're like trying to go around and figure out what's actually going on.
Morgan Mahala, patron, says, I believe that Eddie Valiant being a tragic figure could be a remnant of classic noir archetypes. Around the time that noir films became popular in the 40s and 50s, American film protagonists were commonly portrayed as the flawless macho male specimen who is reliable and never failed to save the day. It likely didn't make for an interesting character. Enter the detective with a drinking problem, trying to do the right thing and redeem his past while trying to impress the girl who will betray him for the stolen jewels in the end. And darn it if you don't have a more engaging movie. To say it in short, the complicated figures seen in noir are likely a shift away from the staple, simple characters of the time. I think that's very true, and I think that's something that you see a lot, like we were talking about before, in film noir, is that it is a reaction to those kind of like goody two-shoes archetypes of the day. And I think that it's an interesting, especially coming as it does during the 40s and 50s, and you get some of it starting in the 30s too, I think, but just the historical backdrop of what was happening that around those times too. That's just really interesting to me that it is, I think, this reaction against American cinema.
Well, it also could be perceived not as a resistance, but almost as kind of like doubling down on these ethics of being like, this is
That's
what life
true.
is
Yeah,
like
yeah,
for
yeah.
these people.
A
It's
morality
like
play,
you
yeah.
don't you don't follow the rules, and this is what happens to you.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah, that just kind of like you're supposed to be, and maybe it's even more effective that way if it's packaged in an entertaining way. So you have kids like watching it, being like, "Yeah, go get them," and then they grow up later and they actually think like, "Oh, wait, I'm actually making moral decisions based on these like weird lessons I learned."
I think that
Seeing these people just completely bottom out.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing point, and something I kind of wanted to talk about as well is that these lessons being a moral, like the past haunting us. Is that really a lesson for our future? Like, I mean, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Like, Eddie Valiant is struggling with drinking because he's haunted by his past. And then by finding that strength in himself and re-embracing his old loves, he realizes, like, I don't need my brother to do this. It sucks, but I don't need him. And so, like, he's able to improve and have a good future, theoretically, hopefully. Whereas other characters, don't learn that lesson, and then that's more of an object lesson for the audience.
I wonder if like Fatal Attraction is like the modern double, or not modern, it was like 30 years ago, but
Right.
of Double Indemnity, which I hadn't seen until a couple years ago because Amanda actually did improv noir.
Oh, cool.
And so that was interesting because she watched a lot of movies and had
Yeah.
to like make that up on the spot. They would do like an hour long, just like made up improv.
Oh, fun.
And so it was interesting to kind of see those like tropes that would come up. And I'm interested in talking to bringing that up as well when we talk about the role of women. But same kind of thing where like you watch something like a Fatal Attraction and it's like you're never cheating on your wife ever. It's like that's a lesson going out of that film. Where you're like, all right, that's probably a really extreme case, but still,
Like, don't wanna
I'm
do
not going to
that.
forget that.
yeah, I think it's interesting when they focus on villains, and like I think of Kubrick's The Killing.
Okay.
It's about a group of criminals robbing a racetrack, but noir does a good job of making you root for these flawed characters. So it's like these guys are criminals pulling a job, but I find myself rooting for them. But of course, in the end, like you were just saying about learning a lesson, like at the end of it, it's like, don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost kind of like your trajectory is based on your skill, where it's like Valiant starts kind of at the bottom and then pops out on top, whereas like in your thing, these are like guys at the top of their game, you know, and like they're all gonna go to jail.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that same with Wild Bunch or any of the Bonnie and Clyde. Like, if you start the movie, if you start a movie
Riding
like this at
high.
the top, you pretty much know where it's gonna go, you know. Or like if you start a movie married, you ain't gonna end a movie married, you know. Like, yeah, it's pretty funny. Also, I think an interesting similarity between Roger Rabbit and Chinatown is kind of the pseudo-accurate historical backdrop. You know, like Roger Rabbit deals with freeway systems, the closure of a lot of public transit in L.A. Chinatown involves the purchasing of the valley and like not sanctioning
real
it, but
estate
like,
and
bringing it into L.A. proper, basically, so L.A. could steal their water. I think the figures of Mulray and a couple other people are like, were like 3 or 4 people in real life, and they made them like 2 guys in Chinatown. But I really like that kind of because you learn something also. But like, it makes for a very intricate storyline that's believable. Because like Chinatown, if you heard the elevator pitch for Chinatown. It's like, yeah, it's about people stealing water.
Yeah.
You're like, what? That's not interesting. Like, get out of here. But then it has like all these bizarre intricacies. You
They
know?
noir it up.
Yeah. I don't really know what I'm asking here, but like I like that.
I mean that one of the things I wanted to say earlier was how well Roger Rabbit does the era.
Yeah.
And how well they sell it. How great the scene is when they're in the theater watching the newsreels.
Yeah.
And how you just get this real kind of taste of like what it was like newsreels. You know, it's
Yeah.
like that was the news. Like there was not a lot of
Yeah.
you know, this is before television, so it's
Right.
like you got the radio and that was your first time to actually see like, oh, the war, you know, like for the first time.
It's hilarious comparing Roger Rabbit and Chinatown.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah,
but they're
I mean,
just both masterpieces in their own right,
yeah.
you know?
Well, a
It's
more
just
direct comparison would be Rango and Chinatown because they're basically the same story. Like Rango. The Johnny Depp lizard CG.
I was gonna say, yeah.
It basically is beat for beat kind of the story of Chinatown.
It's funny.
Without the like Faye Dunaway twist part.
Right.
I think, so. Anyways, let's talk about it. We've hinted at it a couple of times. Let's talk about Film Noir's relationship to female characters.
Which is great.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's historically complex, I would say. It is interesting because Film Noir is strange in that it oftentimes portrays women as duplicitous and conniving and deceitful, while also giving them a lot of credit for being very intelligent and cunning. So it's a very backhanded sort of thing. But I think it was in this. I wanted to start off with this. I think it's in this comment. Jai Aldair says, I think the genre's complicated relationship to women may be tied in with the notion of the flawed and haunted nature of the generally male narrator. A person whose relationships are often disrupted by his flaws, the tragedies that happen to him, and the destructive choices that he has made or may make as a result. His perspective on the people around him is often idealized, sometimes to their benefit, but often to their detriment as well. I'm not aware of any film examples of a noir story focused on a woman instead, and would welcome recommendations. I would say Fargo, but she's not really flawed. But for television, Veronica Mars stands out to me as a modern noir story of a female perspective.
Yeah, it is.
As in any genre, it's possible that the portrayal of women in noir might be more nuanced if the percentage of flawed male narrators was a little more balanced with flawed female ones.
Veronica Mars is like not too flawed though.
She definitely has like a
She
dark
has some baggage.
history.
She's got some baggage for
she
sure.
definitely has a history of
For sure.
assault and
Definitely.
but like that is interesting
assault.
because it is her reaction to that baggage is one
Strong.
of strength, of
Yeah.
being of being colder, of being more standoffish.
Yeah.
And I think you see that in male detectives as well, but like whereas her reaction is to never be the victim again. Male detectives often turn to drinking and stuff
Yeah.
like that and like give themselves a weakness sort of, you know, which is an interesting kind of take on that. Like I'm not trying to speak to anything necessarily, but like
Yeah.
I think that's very interesting. But I think what Jai has brought up here and we hinted on earlier is like a lot of times these are male detectives, and heterosexual male detectives. So like their weakness would be, a beautiful romantic interest. And since it is from their perspective, that is a human fear across the board. And I think maybe Liz talks about this too, but in a second. But like a human fear is that someone you love isn't who you think they are. Everyone's afraid of that. And it is interesting, but I do think just because of like the way society has gone, and I'm not trying to like say any excuses or anything, but like the way that society has gone and that most of these films are male centric, it is an interesting byproduct of that we have these duplicitous females so often rearing their heads, because that would just happen. It's their fear. It's their lens that we're seeing through, Again, not great, not saying it's not excusing it, but it's like, it is a byproduct of that, Do you think that is accurate? Do you think that like
it's an interesting take on it. I was actually, when you first started that and you were saying, the women are often cast in these roles. It's like, I think in that era you were lucky if you were a woman and got that role.
Right,
it's
right.
like
you're not a secretary.
They actually, when Amanda did this genre, this is the point I wanted to bring up, is the one guy, the women kind of had to pull him aside at one point and be like, whatever you're doing, stop it. Because he would walk into a room and be like, hey, I'm a gangster. You're both prostitutes. Hey. And the other women are like, thanks. Like, great. Now I'm a hooker for the next hour.
In the improv
because you
stuff?
just labeled me, and he just he couldn't get his head out of that. And
Right.
they're like, we can do other stuff. There's other ways to play this.
We could be powerful,
And like, I think a pissed off detective in his office, and some dame like the shadow through the door, and she opens up and starts smoking a cigarette and kind of is pushy. That's noir. Like to me, that's like the easiest like
the
way
legendary duo of Bogey and Bacall. Like it doesn't get better than that. And in that era, for her to be as big of a draw as Humphrey Bogart, this is a Bogey and Bacall joint, not just like Humphrey Bogart, and it's like no, we're marketing this as them. Like that was cool.
Because yes, like oftentimes the female that is at the center of the mystery sometimes is just as intricate and flawed and interesting a character as the detective. But since we're following the detective, we get his take on things. I think about the movie Brick, which is very interesting if you haven't seen that. Made
Episode 8.
Yeah, Ryan Johnson. We're getting Joseph Gordon-Levitt's take on all of this stuff, and like his perspective on these other characters, is the one that we're getting kind of, and we're piecing things together as he does. It would be a very different movie following the female character in that. I think that would be a really interesting take. I wonder if anyone's ever done that, like gone back and done a story like reversed like that, like take the other take on it, the female take on it. Interesting. I don't know. Liz Castro, this is a long one, brace yourself, but I thought it was very good. Liz Castro says, noir as a genre can be expressed narratively or stylistically, or both, really. What is that acronym again? Batman the Animated Series, there it is, BTAS, which I just now realized you could shift around and spell bats.
Yeah.
And Who Framed Roger Rabbit falls squarely into the both category, whereas a film like Fargo, I would argue, is a narrative noir, much like Match Point. In terms of female representation, Jans B. Wager in Dames, or Wager, W-A-G-E-R, whatever, in Dames in the Driver's Seat, tracks two archetypes in classic noir, the femme fatale and the femme attrapée, arguing that these two archetypes were used to describe women's lived experiences of either subverting the patriarchy or feeling trapped by it, much in the same way she describes male protagonists as either trying to break from the mold or feeling trapped by it. Think George in The Killing or John in Dark City. Dark City, good, yeah. Quite possibly one of my favorite examples of female representation in classic noir is that of Mildred Pierce in the Cortez film with Joan Crawford as the lead, or Cortez, whatever. The film cuts from noir to melodrama, and in so doing exemplifies the tension of this woman's lived experience. On the one hand, Mildred is involved in seedy circumstances, but on the other, she genuinely is a strong woman trying to fulfill the idea of womanhood of her era. She is divorced, single mother, trying to provide a middle-class upbringing for her daughters and asserting her own independence, and her own agency over her sexuality. The film punishes her for all of it because of the seriously messed up code enforced through the 60s in Hollywood. And really, when we're talking about Hollywood noir, we can't not bring up the code, which we touched on. She says, okay, this is really long, but thank you for so much for this topic. Apparently her BA thesis was titled Violence Against Women in Film Noir. So the topic is very, very close to their heart. I'd be interested in reading that. But yeah, I think that's an interesting, those two dichotomies of like, you can either be subject to the patriarchy or rail against it, you know, and how men are kind of trapped by that too. It's very interesting. Film noir is such a cool tool for discussing the. I mean, it's sort of. I mean, it is kind of like much how like sci-fi can talk about political stuff by veiling it. You know, make this
like
aliens,
you were
like
you brought up Veronica Mars or brought up Veronica Mars, you know, and her dealing with assault, but like she's so strong through it all. It's almost like you forget she's a victim because she's so strong and.
I keep thinking about Frances McDormand.
Yeah.
Because to me, she's almost kind of like the anti-noir protagonist. Because it seems like everybody, seems like in a lot of the noir that I love, everyone is incapable of actually expressing what they think. Like that's like the opposite of where you want to be.
Right.
If it's like you have a man and a man, then it's like I might not be like the good guy, but like I'm the guy that's gonna take you down. And like no, you're not. I don't care about anything. You know, again, Untouchables, like De Niro just like denying constantly, like I'm not denying that I don't do these business, but I don't kill people. I don't go that far. And like clearly he does.
Right.
Whereas with women, it's like, oh well, I'm just hanging around you. I'm not attracted to you. And it's like, oh yeah, well I'm just here smoking a cigarette. I'm not attracted to you. And like clearly they are. And Frances McDormand's just like, I'm gonna go get some eggs. And she's just like, what you see is what you get. She's just always communicating that, and just everyone around her like can't admit, you know, the issues that they're having. And William H Macy's just trapped in his life and wants to screaming to get out. And but yeah, I think that's what's interesting about these movies and why all the scenes are always so electric is because just everyone's constantly at odds. Like, it's so rare. Even when there's like two cops, there's like the captain and the cop, like they can never really like just communicate with each other.
What I like too is you're talking about like females rolling it. Like I feel like the man back then always wanted to like save the woman. You know, they have that complex of like, you need to be saved. I need to save you. But like, I love that usually the women are like one up on him. Like, no, I don't need saving. Like,
you from the
I
start.
know what's going on here.
Yeah.
Like,
or Chinatown. Like, how are you gonna save me from this? Really?
Right. I mean that's
sorry.
the tragedy of Chinatown. I mean, big Chinatown spoiler incoming. But like, I can do it without spoiling it, kind of. But like, yeah, she's just stuck in a situation. Like, the terrible things have kind of already happened.
Yeah,
like,
years ago.
Yeah, and like continuing to happen, and like in a really, really, really depressing way, like gets out kind of the only way she could. Like like the tragedy of that is that they all get to taste what freedom would be like, but then reality just comes back in and is like, nah, you don't get that. You don't get to do that. Like, and then just like ultimate, like kind of like existential, just like, hey man, that's life line of all time.
Yeah.
Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown.
Yeah.
Just like, boom, like life motto, you know, just forget it. You know, there's nothing you can do. It's Chinatown, man. Like, oh man, Chinatown. That is such a good movie. I like my nose. I like breathing through it. But yeah, Fargo, my God, like not only is she the quintessential like Midwestern, just put together, very polite. You know, like she's got a life. She's got some issues, like that weird guy from high school or college, like coming and hitting on her. Like
Mike Yanagita.
Yeah, that guy is weird. But like the biggest drama in her life is just her pregnancy and her husband, like supporting her husband's like making this loon for a stamp, and he gets the 2-cent stamp, and she's just so lovingly support. Like their relationship is like when I think about perfect like supportive relationships,
Prowler
I think
needs a jump.
Yeah, I think Prowler needs a jump. I think of those two, and I think of Morticia and Gomez. But like, we should do an episode on like beautiful relationships. But just the fact that she's this detective, got a square head on her shoulders, like gets the case, figures it out, and is just pregnant the whole time without it really being a thing.
Yeah,
you know, like at one, like in the beginning, she's like, "Oh, I think I'm gonna barf," you know, but like that's kind of the only time her pregnancy like impacts things.
Yeah,
I mean,
carrying a
like,
load here. Like, there's a little bit every here
carrying
and
a
there,
load, but it's just like, but it's like it just shows that like she's capable of doing this, and like it's not a thing. Like whatever, it's fine, everything's cool. I really respect that in Fargo.
But I think one of the things that I might actually kind of show that like the egoism of the males and the sultriness of the females, like all of that's just kind of the time period. So if you're gonna want to like really get into that, you are telling like an old type of story,
right?
And I think one of the things that stays true in a good and bad way, depending on your protagonist, that is true. Frances McDormand, she's persistent. Like, it's like she can tell right away if she talks to William H. Macy. She's like, yeah, you're lying to me. I could just tell. But I can't prove it right now, so it's not really going to do anything. But, like, you're not getting away from me. Like, I'm going to find you. I'm going to go driving through this lake for hours to find this car. It's no big deal. It's my job.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, a lesser person, somebody that was more, like, wrapped up emotionally might give up or might be scared of the, getting wrapped up in all this crime and stuff. And she's just like, no. So I wonder if, like, that persistence is kind of one of the more admirable qualities of someone like Eddie Valiant actually dealing with Roger and sticking with him this whole time, or getting his nose split open but still going back to the case in Chinatown.
Well, and that's something that I really like. It happens more so in Chinatown and Roger Rabbit than in Fargo, but like often there is a reluctancy, like there's a reluctant hero kind of deal. Like Eddie Valiant doesn't want any part of this. Like once R.K. Maroon pays him his $100, he's out.
But he doesn't even want Jessica.
Right.
He's still just like, oh, please.
Yeah, he's like, come on.
But
then
Roger shows up in his house.
Baby Huey tries to pay him. He's like, get out of here. Get elevator shoes,
Yeah.
But then, the story brings him back in, and then, like, he gets interested, Mm-hmm. I mean, like, actually, it's really funny because he sees the will on Acme in his photograph.
Yeah.
And then even then he's like, yeah, whatever. He's gonna go to bed, and then Roger's in his bed, and that's the only thing that keeps
the weasels show up. Mm-hmm. And he's like, forced into it.
Yeah, and even before the weasels shoot through the lock on his door, he's like, no, Roger, get out of here. But then he's like, whoa, these weasels are like not playing fair. Like, and then he's like in, It's
didn't hear you guys come in.
Yeah, didn't hear you guys come in. Close the door open. So good. Oh god, that movie is perfect.
I'll send you out to try.
Yeah. You and your laundry.
How does air splash water? How'd that happen?
Yeah.
What?
Without like, and like I was like looking.
It's not a little hose squirting up out of the water. It's water that the surface is disturbed by something. Like, what?
And like you look for the things that they roto out, and like there are a few little weird inconsistencies where like I noticed the first time in the commentary that Roger. When he's driving around on Two Town, he like has the actual physical real gun that Eddie got from R.K. Maroon, but then when he gets to the dip house, it's animated, and I wonder if that's because he was gonna wave it around. But like the other weasels have real guns too, so maybe they just like they were like, oh crap, we didn't shoot the gun, just animate it. I wonder, like it's a perfect movie, I think, because of its charm, and like it has flaws, but like. Oh my god! Well, it's the artistry.
It's a movie. I mean, this has nothing to do with noir, but like, it's a movie of references too. It's about nostalgia and it's about jokes about the industry and stuff like that. But like, that's not what you remember it for. Yeah. Like, like I remember those moments, like Yosemite Sam, like my biscuits are burning. Like those are funny, but like it's not like a Space Jam where it's like, oh, I know that because of how wacky it was and all this stuff came together. It's like, oh yeah, that's in it and is a positive of it, but like the best moments are this is the story, the characters.
So, just to start wrapping things up, I asked a few people for other recommendations of their favorite noirs that maybe we hadn't heard of or haven't been as familiar with. Andrew Bailey would like to mention a French film from 1937 that he says I really enjoyed, starring Jean Gabin, called Pepe Le Moco, that fits with film noir. Also wanted to shill for TBS's Search Party. He felt that because it's on TBS, it's not getting a lot of. It's got maybe
that's current, right?
Yeah,
that's
like
1 or 2
season
seasons
2 is
in,
coming
right?
out soon, I think.
Yeah.
It's got maybe from Arrested Development in it.
That's the Nancy Drew billboards, right?
That had those old animated.
Love those. Sold on those billboards already.
Yeah,
they look like the cover of a Nancy Drew novel.
Andrew Bailey likes it and recommends it.
Cool.
Retro PS4 says one of my favorite film noir movies of all time is Orson Welles' 1949 classic The Third Man.
Oh my god, yeah.
which I haven't seen actually.
Oh my God.
I
It's
need
been
to
a while,
see it,
but
yeah.
Orson Welles
been
is
a
like
while.
barely in it.
It says it's an interesting in that unlike many other Hollywood noir films of the time, the setting is post-war Vienna.
Yeah.
By using this rundown, sad, uninviting, and devastated environment, Wells is creating a commentary on and contributing motivator to why the characters behave the way they do. Context, in all caps. What really glues it all together, though, is that the seemingly happy carnival waltz music heard throughout the entire film somehow is slightly off, which really adds to the tension and feeling that something slightly sinister just might be underlying the whole situation.
God, I love Orson
But
Welles.
again, why the cartoons are creepy? You
Yeah.
know why it's
Yeah.
like the Roger Rabbit really carries the air that like ha 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 cartoon, and it's like very creepy stuff going on.
Yeah.
Again,
dip.
even Toontown, which like it's like, oh yay, we're going to the place where the
A
cartoons
little
live.
unsettling.
Yeah.
And it's like even just the train at the end.
Yeah.
Like, just
Which
shaking
I
their-
pointed
Oh
out to
my
him.
God. Disturbing, Jones.
I learned from the commentary in the thing.
You ready for this?
Every window in the train has a depiction of a murder or a suicide.
What?
Yes.
Yep. Because it's like Murder on the Orient Express, like that kind of like noir thing, you know, like strangers on a train.
And then you just can't see it because it goes by.
It goes
too
by really
fast, or-
quickly, but if you know
Freeze
that
frame
and you
it.
watch it again, you can see like there are people in them and they're all like, I think they're all references to if I'm not mistaken, I think they're all references to different murders.
Freaked
in,
me
like,
out, Jones.
Hitchcock
Freaked
movies
me
and stuff.
out.
Like there's definitely like
Yeah.
a shower murder stabbing thing going on. Like I think they're all references to films, if I'm not mistaken. I
Whoa.
might be making that part up, but they're all murders or suicides in every frame.
Insane.
It's
Wow.
crazy. Go back and like frame through it. It's nuts.
Wow.
Yeah. Anna Lucia Stone says, "Tell Me Something," a Korean film directed by Chang Yoon-hyun in 1999. I thought was absolutely superb. Fairly extreme, loads of twists, great soundtrack, atmospheric use of lighting, many layers of complex tension between the main characters. I would give fair warning, just say that it can be briefly at times be a very tough watch, but it is well worth it.
Koreans do not mess around.
Yeah, man.
Such good
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah.
Sick.
Film noir. So good.
Prolific. A lot of movies.
Yeah.
So much to learn about film noir. There's so many underlying themes, so many movies. Like they teach classes. Like you're saying thesis statement on
Yeah.
just that. Like there's massive genre.
Yeah. So that brings us into the theme for next month,
Ooh.
which is the Coen Brothers.
Oh.
Yeah.
We gotta have Jones back. It's like Jones's favorite.
Me too.
I mean, Hudsucker Proxy is not noir, but it you know.
The period.
Wait,
oh
you
my
know,
god.
Coen
If I like,
Brothers are
if I
your
like Batman
favorite
the Animated
directors?
Series, that movie.
Coen Brothers are among my favorite directors. Yeah.
Among.
Yeah, the Coen Brothers have made 2 mistakes in their career. 2, maybe.
Are you talking
That
about
weird, the Tom
Untouchables and
Hanks
Lady Killers?
movie. Yeah, Lady Killers and what was
Lady
the other one?
Killers, the Untouchables or in what is it? The Clooney
Yeah.
lawyers one. I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah, those 2.
Yeah.
Clooney lawyer.
What is that one called?
I don't
It's not the Untouchables. It's the
Up in the Air.
somethings.
The Up in the Airables.
No, but yes, that scene has like that movie has like one funny scene, but otherwise it's not very good. And like Burn After Reading is like all right, but not great.
Yeah, but
no,
didn't make me angry.
no, right.
You know.
But yeah, they have. I mean, Blood Simple is basically noir. Miller's Crossing, which I can't believe we didn't bring up through this entire thing.
Yeah.
Miller's
I
Crossing,
love me some
straight
Gabriel
up
Byrne.
noir.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, like we're gonna talk about all of them. So like, if you watched any of them, that's your assignment. But like, I don't know. Let's just say Fargo because we talked about it so much in this episode as the assignment film. That'll be the one that we do a commentary on. Or maybe No Country for Old Men.
Or both.
Which I also saw recently, and man, oh man.
Double dip.
I mean, maybe
How about like a bone, like extra credit?
extra.
You know what I
credit.
love about Fargo is my mom loves Fargo so much because those are
yeah.
all her relatives.
Oh yeah,
So
I
she
grew
just
up. I grew
died
up
when
there.
she saw
Yeah, I grew up. Like people think that it's heightened, and it's heightened a little bit, but I know people who would like who talk like that. And I mean, like I just said, "Oh yeah," 4 times, and like that's not, you know.
I like when they interviewed Frances McDormand. I think she was on Letterman afterwards, and he's like, "Is there anything? Was that accent hard to kick?" And she's like, "The accent's not hard, but pretty darn good." She's like, "That is a part of my vocabulary now."
Pretty darn good. People say that. No, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you betcha. Stand for supper. Anyway, Fargo, beautiful movie. And the show, is actually pretty good. I haven't
Yeah.
finished season 3,
I
but
haven't even touched season 3, but
Yeah.
1 and 2 were pretty stellar.
I just love how challenging noir is. You know,
Yeah.
it challenges you to watch uncomfortable situations and kind of reflects back on you as the viewer of, you know, we were talking about criminals that are doing bad things, but you're kind of rooting for them. But at the end of the day, it's like, no, you shouldn't do that. And just flawed characters reluctantly doing things. It's heavy. It's heavy duty.
That's why I'll always love Batman, because I love that character who's like, all right, I'll do it. You know, like like one person who's always finds himself in the place that like I'm not scared by these things. I will confront that. That's why the end of Dark Knight is so poignant. You know, it's just kind of like, fine, I'll be whatever. It doesn't matter. These things don't affect me. People are mad at me or something, or like cops are chasing me. I can deal with that.
Yeah.
You know, just as long as the right thing is done. And I think that's why it's such a deep genre and such a fascinating character study, is because what is the right thing? How far are you willing to go to make things right?
Yeah.
How much do people need to know? You know, it's like if something like this went down, you know, would it behoove, you know, Jack Nicholson to then go out and tell more people involved with the events of Chinatown what actually happened? Or is it best to just like, I will take this, I will keep this to myself,
or like
I will bear the burden of
But
it.
you're saying too, like doing bad things
I was gonna
for
say.
like a good
do the
reason
wrong thing
in
for
a
the
way?
right reason.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
Totally.
That's why even just I'm doing the Batman Telltale. I'm running through those episodes finally, and like even just something as simple as like, do I want to scare a guy with a lead pipe or actually smack him in the face? And like, how will that, you know, how much do I want to scare people? Really?
Right.
My Batman Jones.
Yeah.
Unhinged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go Batfleck.
Yeah.
Shotguns and dropping.
I was going for the
planks of wood on
hits.
people and stuff. Yeah.
Well, that's about it for us. Do we have any quotes for the quote challenge? Or do we not think of any?
I have one that's so easy.
Hit
but
us.
I just feel like saying it.
Yeah.
Dyson. Miles Dyson. She's gonna blow him away. Come on, we gotta go.
Do you know it?
Of course he does.
Yeah, it doesn't hold up, but it's a good movie. No, it's
Terminator?
Terminator 2.
Yeah.
Had to go there. Wanted to go there. It's been on my mind.
Wait, if you can think of one,
I'm thinking
I had the
still,
movie,
I'm
but
thinking still.
um,
Okay, I've got one. I don't know if I've used this before on this show. Back when I was in a barbershop quartet in Skokie, Illinois.
Usual Suspects.
Yeah.
Is Usual Suspects noir?
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Unreliable narrator.
Definitely an
Ooh.
unreliable narrator. And like, yeah, I mean, it's a crime thriller, but I'd say it's got noir. You know, that's why it gets complicated. That's why people say like it's not a genre, because it's so broad that you could be like, well, that's a noir because it's got high contrast lighting, or that's a noir because it's got a shady detective, or that's a noir, 'cause, you know, and that's why it's such a discussion. But like, whatever.
Like, how is that scene in the elevator with Stephen Baldwin not noir? Lights go out.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? So cool.
Love it. Do you have a quote?
Good flick.
it tells me that goose-dripping morons like yourselves should spend more time reading books than burning them.
Yeah, I know that one. Goose stepping more.
Last Crusade, yeah. I knew it was Indiana Jones.
yeah.
I just didn't know which one.
Should try reading books instead of burning them.
Yeah, if I did the accent, that
Yeah,
would be just
giving it away. Yeah.
on a silver platter, but
Yeah.
because I
suddenly remembered
just
my
rewatched
Charlemagne.
Just rewatched Last Crusade.
Did you watch all of them in a row?
No, just Last Crusade.
Oh, okay.
I put on Crystal Skull the other night, but volume off. While I was like,
Yeah.
when I was working
Yeah.
on the podcast, I was like,
That's the way to
sure,
watch
I can
that.
kind of stomach it. Like,
So I
because
haven't.
there are moments like I really like the scene when he's staring at the skull. Like I really like Indy's relationship to everything that's happening. That's fine. Like anytime it's just Indy and the lore,
The
it's
scene
great.
when they come into the motorcycle into the study hall,
Yeah,
funny.
I
That's
like
a funny
that. I
scene.
like that chase sequence, and John Hurt's pretty good throughout. You know, interesting character, especially because he like kicks it at the end. He's just kind of, whew, got that out of my head. You know, like you had like a physical thing like buzzing around in his skull.
Oh yeah.
Like I haven't never rewatched it. You know,
I watched it a
Does
second
it get
time.
worse or better on the second time?
Certainly doesn't get better.
No, it does not get better.
Because I mean, you have the expert. You know what you're
Right.
getting into. And
I
You
watched
can
it
tolerate
again.
it more, maybe. Because like that first viewing, I was upset.
I watched it again with the express purpose of like, you know, maybe it was hard on it. Is it really all that bad? And yeah, it is.
Oh.
It's
Karen
really
Allen,
all
unfortunately,
that
is
bad.
just not good. They just directed poorly. They just wrote her.
It's just
bad.
everything about it is bizarre.
That opening scene, though.
Shia LaBeouf does look a lot like Harrison Ford, though.
That opening scene.
As does what's his name, Adam Driver. Strangely, the two of them, like I
weird,
buy
yeah.
as his offspring. But
I watched Valerian last night.
You did?
Yeah.
Nice.
And like I was like, yeah, that movie was awesome anytime someone wasn't speaking or trying to act.
Exactly.
Like, and then that's a movie that if you watched it with the picture off and maybe with subtitles, I mean, the script has significant issues. Bad issues. But like,
if the first 10 minutes was a short film, nominated for an Oscar.
Amazing.
For short film.
The beginning of this movie is phenomenal.
Legendary intro.
So good.
Yeah.
Like the shaking of the hands, I'm just like, dude, I'm all in. I for real want to like re-edit that movie, just like take out most of Valerian and Clara Delevingne, whatever.
Which is sad because I like her character type. I like her of just like being about us.
They couldn't pull it off. Like, stop with those two.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like, that guy can play like creepy weirdos, sure, but he's not a leading man.
He's supporting.
Yeah.
I like him in Place Beyond the Pines and Chronicle.
Oh yeah.
And the Metallica movie.
He's great at like unhinged dudes, but like
The Metallica movie. Through the would never or whatever.
Anyway,
what a weird one.
That'll do it for us. Thank you for watching or listening.
I had fun. Thanks for having me in. It was a good time.
Thanks for being on.
It's a good podcast. Thanks.
Yeah, I hope it's good. I worry about this podcast a lot, but
we're just shooting.
You
know what you know what shooting is in the wrestling terms? They're shooting on it. We're just shooting.
What does that mean?
So in wrestling, it's like they give their real life take on it, not like not pretend. Whoa. So they shoot. It's real.
Why is it called that?
I don't know. This is the way it is.
You were what the hell's going on?
I don't know.
All right. But we are Easy Allies. You can support us on patreon.com/easyallies. Go to easyallies.com. You can see all this crazy stuff we're doing, the shows, the schedules of our streams. We do this every month. Second Friday of every month, this show comes out. Last Friday of every month, Fiasconauts comes out, where we generally play things that end up seeming kind of like a film noir sometimes.
Sure.
Things definitely don't go well for our unreliable narrators.
Just do a classic noir, though.
I think we might have a few playsets that would facilitate that. Yeah. But anyway, thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you next time on Reaction Shots. Bye bye.